Welcome to this launch of the new book, The Art of Storytelling Across Cultures by Joanna Sell. New author, yay. And this is an opportunity today to hear something about this really new work and the years of experience that it went into creating it. It's an opportunity to hear from the author, from Joanna herself, about what she's hoping for this work and why she actually created it. And to do some real storytelling across cultures, because we want to invite you into a little bit of action as part of our hour together today as well. So by the end of our time together, we will also have a little bit of an offer for you and a request. We need some help in getting this book out there, and we hope you will help to do that. To begin our time together, we'd like to check in the chat window. The question is, where do your feet touch the ground? You could take that literally or metaphorically. My feet are currently in the ground in northern Jutland in Denmark, so I might say that. I might say my feet are on the ground on a carpet that's underneath my desk. I could speak about it like that. So where do your feet touch the ground, and what inspired you to be here? So would you please write in the chat window where your feet touch the ground and what inspired you to be here? Wonderful. And we're already seeing these things coming in. Vincent is saying, I'm in my home office in the Netherlands. Patty is in Vienna, and Joanna inspired her. David Hutchins is in Nashville, Tennessee, working with leaders
I
globally.
appreciate joining. That's fantastic. Oh my God, so early in the morning for you. Thank you for
Barbara is here from Spain. Manuela is in Bavaria. Julia is in Austria, in Innsbruck. Oh, I'm going to be there pretty soon. Surya is sitting cross-legged in a yoga pose in her, oh, good on you, in her chair. Good evening from Pune in India. Oh, I wish I could say the same. I just got off an international flight, no cross-legged for me. Kirsten is in her home office in the attic in Bochum. Mickey is in Japan. Jillian is in her home office in Dublin. And thank you for coming. We want to get a bit of a feeling for what is in this piece of work and who is Joanna. So is there anybody here who doesn't know Joanna personally, who's joined our time? I see a few hands raised. So this will be the opportunity to get to know her. And we've got the most perfect people on the spot to help us do that. So we're going to invite Nuruddin to start off by introducing Joanna and to really speak a bit about something in this book that sparked his attention, and then to get Joanna into conversation. Nuruddin, can I hand over to you, please?
Thank you, Mary-Elise. Hi, everyone. My name is Nuruddin Radi. I'm originally from Morocco, and I am very happy to be here to ask some questions to Joanna, because the first time we met, that was in Valencia. During our first meeting, she started asking me questions about my family, my culture, about the position or the role of storytelling in my culture. So when she asked me that question, she touched something really actually very, very rich in me, which has to do with my mother. My mother was born in a palace in Marrakesh. She grew up among women who use chants and storytellings and metaphors. And each time I met Joanna, storytelling was always there in her discussion. So today, Joanna surprised me with this beautiful baby, this new book. And today I have got this opportunity to ask Joanna, Joanna, I mean, who is really Joanna behind this beautiful, inspiring book? And secondly, actually, I would like to ask you, Joanna, and it is also for the audience, the people, to know more about you. Actually, what is your personal relationship with storytelling, and why storytelling?
Thank you so much. Wow. When you told me what you are going to ask me, I was really kind of overwhelmed. So this is the most difficult question we can ask ourselves, who we actually are. And this is actually part of a big process that brought me to writing the book. Because you know, when we talk about our individual traits, when we talk about our individuality, I guess what is most important is that we are work in progress, and stories we tell ourselves matter a lot. So that we tell stories that are really very, very meaningful to us, that are kind of destructive. So at different stages in our lives, we need to ask ourselves, what stories do we want to more of? What stories do we want to keep telling because they bring us forward? And what stories do we want to stop telling because they don't bring us any forward anymore? And in my case, for those of you who don't know me in person, I grew up in Poland behind the Iron Curtain, and I guess it had a huge impact on how I see the process of sharing stories. Back then, I heard contradictory stories home and at school or in media. At home, I still remember a situation when the whole family was gathered at a table and we had a fantastic family reunion. My grandma, who was very, very open-minded, said, oh, you know, this young generation, so my cousins and me, you don't really learn foreign languages. What's going on with you? And we were so puzzled because we said, why should we learn foreign languages? We are in Poland, we never travel, we don't get foreign guests from other countries. What is the point of learning English, German, French, Spanish, Italian, you name it? And I will never ever forget her answer. She said back then, you know, this crazy time will be over one day and you will be able to travel. And back in this situation, you will hear my voice in your mind that every single language you can share your stories in is a door opener. So I guess this is, you know, something that is extremely important when we talk about the importance of sharing our stories, that our stories matter, that when we say where our roots are and when we share what is important to us, and we really search for commonalities, for similarities with other people on purpose, then we shift from this polarized way of thinking. We shift from, you know, this way of categorizing and stereotyping, and bring curiosity also to listen to someone else's story. And by the way, I'm really happy to greet also not only all my guests here who are joining from all over the world, which is really fantastic, but I just see my husband joining, who is currently in Mexico. Hello, hello. And also my mom and her husband. Cześć, kochani. So, yeah, does it answer a little bit the question, Nuruddin?
Yeah, thank you, Joanna. I think I have just one last question, actually. With this book, what is your new project with storytelling?
My new project was storytelling. So this was a very turbulent journey. I'm handing, you know, this book right now in my hands, and it was a very turbulent journey. You can you can imagine. The critical voice and the imposter syndrome were really, really loud. And I still remember days when I was, you know, writing something and deleting, and then writing and rewriting, and then also saying, hey, wait a second, is it really important for the people? Isn't it too much of, you know, my own stories? So actually, this is also very, very important to keep in mind that this was such a journey that I at one point said, it's ready to see the daylight and I'm happy to make it happen. And actually, you have just asked what is the next step, and the next step hopefully will take place pretty soon. It's something I haven't planned. However, I would really, really love to do. And one chapter of my book is about visual storytelling. So actually over there, I said it would be really fantastic to also see how we can work with visual storytelling in the context of exhibitions, in the context of organizing different exhibitions. It doesn't really matter whether in the museum context or also at different companies, so that we can also attract people, that they can look at the different pieces of art, they can have a look at the beauty and bring lots of curiosity and get inspired by different pieces of art to share stories.
Well, thank you, Joanna. As you know, I am very proud of you. I'm very proud of what you are doing. So you have to take it as it is. I'm very proud of you. Thank you. Back to you, Mary Alice.
One of the memories I have while we were in the midst of COVID lockdown was being able to say to people, I went to the Louvre yesterday with Joanna. And of course, they looked at me and they said, but your background hasn't changed. How's that possible? And that's because she took us on a tour and we actually looked at stories that were reflected in art. So these two pieces of you coming together about storytelling across culture and the magnificent way we can learn and also see what was taking place in different times. I remember you asking in one journey I went with you on, how many pictures did Rembrandt do of people who were not the majority population, people who were minority population? And that was interesting to find out. Where have different people been depicted in art? You made me think a lot. So I'm sure that this particular book is designed to make people think a lot, because that's something that you do really well. So if you would look at the content of this book, what do you hope people are going to think about when they really engage with it? What are you hoping for that they're going to learn from this book?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this question. So actually, the journey with the book started before the book, and the idea of the book was actually born. And it started with a collection of really, really inspirational interviews. During the lockdown, as you said, Mary Alice, when, you know, all of us, we were overwhelmed by the situation, I realized, oh my God, I'm not able to travel any longer. And this is the fate all of us we shared at that moment. And I said, what can I do if I cannot go to the world to make the world come to me? And I started this adventure of the podcast, One Word Stories, where I actually invited people from different corners of the world. And thank you so much to many of you who are joining also today, tonight, or early in the morning for being here. This is just a small abstract. There are altogether 60 conversations with really fantastic people who share very generously how they work with stories. And at one point I said, wow, it's so much knowledge, so much experience, so much fantastic ideas how to actually cope with it, that it would be really, really wonderful to pick a small piece from different conversations and to include in the book, to show that many people also have great experience, great inspirations, how we can work with stories. So actually the book is really a compilation of exactly this one word stories excerpts. The aim was really to show how different people from different corners of the world work in a very inspirational way with storytelling practices, but also with story listening in coaching, in leadership, in intercultural training, change management process, and so on and so forth. So it was really, really fascinating. And then I said, what can I do that the storytelling book is really kind of a treasure, not only for those who want to know, but also for the practitioners who really want to apply storytelling And this was the idea to also have one chapter on working with storytelling. And this is where you see this symbol of the story activity. Last but not least, there are inspirations in form of stories, and these are the moments where you immediately see shown when you go to the story time. And these are actually not only personal stories, not only experiences from different contexts, how I experience working with storytelling in coaching, in leadership coaching, in training, and also in facilitation of big groups of people from, again, different corners of the world, but also fairy tales, also, other people's stories with their permission, to show how we actually can inspire, motivate, engage with different stories. And what is really important, and this is something I have just underlined and emphasized, is that whenever we work with stories, we need the permission of the people who share the stories with us. Of course, there are contexts where it's not possible to share stories. Nevertheless, it's really, really important to also, when we are in the facilitation process, when we are in the training process, to be very, very focused on dexterity. Last but not least, one of my biggest passion and also something that I was really tempted to do, and after consultation with different people, I decided to include it, is the word of visual storytelling, and also showing this art inspirations, how we can share stories inspired by art. So altogether, and long story short, the book is not just this, let's say, kind of treasure of how to work with stories, but there is lots of research behind it. And I still remember, reading different books, articles from different disciplines, so that you've got this possibility when you read it to dive into storytelling realm from different perspectives. And what helped me to structure it was the idea of the compass, where in the north, we've got the narrative approach. And over there, you will see why actually we work with storytelling and why it's so important right now. And mostly because of my mom. And this is really a big, big thanks to her. I also focus on the neuroscience of storytelling over there, so that you see what is going on in your brain and also in your story listener's brain when we share stories. Why are stories so powerful? When we listen to data and to facts, it's not as important, as powerful as when we really listen to something emotional. And exactly, this is the point with the emotional. The next chapter is based on the idea of giving the fan of different possibilities to actually work with stories. So how can we tell very compelling stories? And here we've got, apropos emotions, the EPIC model, and the first letter stands for emotions. So this emotional impact is very, very important in storytelling, because this is what makes us human. Currently, we compete with artificial intelligence. And this is really this call to get back to the roots. What makes us human? What is important for us to connect? And yeah, this is the question also right now to all of you, because I'm talking about the EPIC model, and as I have just revealed, the E stands for emotions. What is your opinion? What is still very important to keep in mind when we want to share comparing stories? What do you think? What is important? Purpose? What else is important for compelling stories? Connection, experience, yeah. Vulnerability, exactly. Yes, very important. Authenticity. Thank you so much. Not judging. This is the tricky part because our brain is actually created this way that we tend to see the black and white scenarios and to judge. Yeah. So really to suspense judgment. Empathy. Thank you so much. Yes, exactly. A dose of humor. Yeah. Yes, very important. Passion. Oh yeah, it comes across. It's a certain energy, empathy, not sympathy. Yes, thank you so much. So, as you see, these are many, many ideas that really are important when we want to talk about this compelling storytelling techniques. And the EPIC model actually gives you a little bit of more understanding what you can keep in mind and how you can do it. By the way, I leave it a little bit secret what it stands for. However, the C stands also for creativity, and there is a huge, huge part of this chapter regarding creativity as well. So in the South, we've got storytelling across cultures. So what you need to know in particular to work with stories. And here I'm really very, very grateful above all to one of my storytelling one-word stories guests, Milton Bennett, who is with us. Buongiorno. Who actually is the author of the DMIS model. And this is also, you know, the idea how we can work with stories in this polarized world in such a way that we are, on one hand side, aware of the power of the untold stories. So also the epigenetic that plays a very important role, how we inherit the consequences of traumas from other generations. It doesn't really matter whether it's in the context of decolonialization, if it's in the context of, you know, inheriting stories from the wars and so on and so forth, but also individual stories of our grandparents, great-grandparents, that have got also an impact on us at this level. And also the triangle of working with stories when we work with them at the individual, collective, and global level. So many, many possibilities how we can really introduce transformation, what you have just emphasized, Astrid, in the chat window. Last but not least, promised working with stories. So how to work with stories as a trainer, as a coach, facilitator, leader, and also L&D designer, so learning and development designer. These are some possibilities, some ideas, some of them proposed by me, some proposed by my guests. I would like to draw your attention to 3 bonus materials and bonus chapters that include the visual storytelling, the story activities, and the art inspirations. Because as you know me, these are also, you know, this chapters of my heart. So thank you so much. Mary Alice, I'm handing over to you.
And I'm handing over to Patty.
And I'm handing over to Joanna in a sec. But lovely, lovely to be here, and really big congratulations again, Joanna. It's Nuruddin started with this lovely, you know, this sort of introduction to Joanna. I've known Joanna many, many years. I probably still remember, Joanna, the day you came to me. It was at a CTAR conference, and I can't remember which one, but you said, Parry, I'm thinking of working on storytelling. What do you think? And I still remember that day. And here you are today, an expert in this field with a book with so much research and knowledge and wisdom down your arm. So really big congratulations. Joanna gave me the task of reading her book and coming up with a few questions. And I can only be very honest and say, I read most of the book, but not the full book. So I still have some time to do that. And thank you for sharing some of the background on the you know, how the book is structured. I have a few questions that you've answered some of the questions I had on my list already, but a few questions I thought would be interesting to share. A lot of times when you approach storytelling, you always hear that lovely quote by the author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, which is the danger of a single story. Because I think a lot of times we stereotype, we get stuck in a story. And I'd love you to talk to us a little bit about what is the danger of a single story.
Thank you so much, Patty. It's such an important question. And yes, I still recall, also our conversation when we were talking also about, the stories of the place of origin and also the transition to different countries. And I still remember also you pointing that actually you have moved so much. You are home in so many corners of the world. And you, as a powerful woman, being originally from Iran and moving for studies to the UK, right now you are based in Vienna. So, also moving across countries, continents, experience the biggest culture shock in your own country because of the political change. And, this is one of the experiences that it's so important to share, that people have got a better understanding what is actually going on in us when we go through a very, very robust transformation. And this is, for me at least, an overwhelming example of the danger of a single story, because when we talk about the culture shock, we immediately picture someone from a tiny village in, I don't know, Lower Saxony, moving to Tokyo, yeah, and experiencing something really overwhelming. Nevertheless, it can be really in the same place, in the same country. And I still remember also, for sure, not to such an extent, but also many people in Poland during the transformation time in 1989, that some of them experienced also kind of a culture shock because the reality changed so much. So this is just, one example at this level. Another part that is really very important, in my opinion, is that we tend to reduce people to just one, let's put it this way, layer of their identity.
Yeah.
So, oh, you work in the multicultural team. So you work with Chinese and French and Japanese. Oh, wow, very interesting. However, it must be also tough. So we tend to reduce people to just one layer. This is also the danger of a single story, that we see them as representatives of just some stereotypes, some generalizations. And this is something I really definitely want to address when I want to share this idea of working with stories much, much more. That is extremely important to get to know other people better, so that we connect with them, and it also improves the quality of working together. It also improves the quality of commitment, yeah, and also fun aspect, that we really want to do something together with people who, yes, just have got the courage to open up a little bit, and we do exactly the same. So that we get to know each other a little bit better behind this, idea. I still remember, there is one very nice intervention with storytelling practices, that people share free stories, and one of them is just the story, I don't know, for the future. Yeah, or it can be also, this is how I work with it, that there are free stories, two of them are right, and one is the wish for the future, and the rest of the persons need to guess which one is just the wish. There are also possibilities to work with the stories in such a context that we say, hey, these are the three stories, one of them is a lie, it's not the truth. And there was time when I was much, much younger. I had two kids home, one baby, one toddler. And I worked work in the corporate context with intercultural trainings. And I said, oh, you know, one of the story is actually that I have 2 children. And you cannot imagine how many times I heard that this is not the true story, that nobody believed that I'm the mother when I travel and work and, you know, offer intercultural training in different corners. So this is also the danger of the single story, that it's not only at this national, regional level, but also at the gender level, that we reduce someone to just a stereotype we've got about this person.
Very true, Joanna. Thank you for explaining that and sharing these different perspectives. It is very important. My sense of the book, beautifully structured, beautifully written, especially, you know, as you said, you're navigating north, east, south, and west. And part of it, and I know we're running out of time, so we'll keep it short. The last question I have in the working with storytelling, you have some tools, and you use these tools in a practical way in coaching, training, facilitation. Tell us your favorite tool, something that stands out for you. What would that be? And we keep it short because I know there is a lot that you'd like to say for that, but just one tool would be great to hear from you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, because I know you also work in the coaching field, so it's really very, very hands-on question, and also a very practical question, how we can work with storytelling in the, for example, leadership context. So actually, the one intervention I have just shared, it's really good for groups. Yeah. When we've got a group, when we've got a person in the one-to-one coaching, I really like working with the hero or heroine's journey, but not in this conventional way. Oh, where are you on this, you know, model? The hero's journey, I guess we've got so many heroes currently that maybe we should address a little bit more tools that don't reinforce ego, but really, you know, make people more humble. But really, where are you on this journey with your team, with your group of people who are reporting to you? How do you perceive this this process? So this is really very, very powerful. Yeah.
Back to Mary Alice. Thank you so much, Joanna.
Thank you to both of you. And let me just remove the spotlight here. We're about to go into trios with this question. So this is your opportunity to do some cross-cultural storytelling with the people you end up with in the breakout room. Here's the question. To share with each other, what inspires me about this topic is ... You know, if you think about the art of storytelling across cultures. The second one is, the question I have for Joanna is ... You know, if I could ask her anything, what would it be right now? So we're about to put you in a breakout room, and it's going to be for a very brief time. We're thinking about maybe 8.5 minutes, just because we can. So let's see who you end up with there. Make some new friends and get some good questions. And I'm going to open all the breakout rooms now. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for being engaged in conversation with each other. We have a very short time, couple of minutes to engage with some of your questions, but it would be interesting, first of all, to hear what inspired you about what you've heard so far about the art of storytelling across cultures. Let's have a few voices. What's inspired you? And you might be, I can see some of the people here in the chat were some of the guests, but George, you've got your hand up. Please unmute yourself.
The chief question that came to my mind, by the way, precious work you have done. We are deeply grateful. Yeah. The question that came to my mind is, what do we do around the awareness that we have a story that's no longer working? We need a new story, and how do we find it?
Yeah. Wow, powerful. I guess we have such stories at different levels in different contexts, and we might feel very helpless in this situation, George. Nevertheless, this is our task for the upcoming months and years, so that at one point, especially the young people won't have the idea, oh, actually, it's much easier to go to ChatGPT and to put some key words, and the story will be formed for me. Yeah, because we are outsourcing our brains more and more. And it's not the point that the artificial intelligence is taking over the task of telling ethical stories. This is our task at the moment. How we want to really find back to the human connection and deeply human values. What we can do about it, I guess we can definitely focus more on shaping and creating such spaces where we can actually work with stories, that we come up with different ideas, because all of us here know that it's very important that we have different inspirations and not just sit alone and think, oh, what should be the next most elegant step, because it doesn't work. We need to put the brain power together to create arete for all of us. So, arete, this is what I've learned from you, George, from Greek, living up to the fullest potential. And this is what is really important, not to outsource our brain, but really to invest time and energy in creating more and more neuro paths that we actually are still able to tell stories that are meaningful to other people, that are really important to them, that they don't feel manipulated, that they feel inspired. When I share a story and I want something from the person, I manipulate the person. When I share the story and I want this person to grow, the person will feel this energy, that it's really, the present, the gift for this person. So I
You
get
need,
this.
you need a whole other session to deal with the fact of the destructive stories and the populist stories that are just tearing our world apart politically, socially, and so on. Because the people who are winning are the people who are making stories, and the stories are not good stories. And that's let's schedule another time with you, whoever's the boss of this program, please.
Yeah.
I noticed
Thank you, George.
that David and Kirsten had some conversation together, and their question is, how does your work change when you step into different cultures? How does this change across cultures? And they're both very interested in how do we get scientists and convince them that storytelling works for them, something that motivates both of them. So how does your work change across cultures?
It changes a lot. It changes a lot. I guess the biggest shift was for me last November, when I had a tremendous pleasure to accept the invitation of my dear friend Miki Yamashita to also work at 2 universities in Tokyo and to work with stories with Japanese students. And I was really scared, because I said, wow, this is the culture where people actually refrain from sharing something personal. It's not part of the DNA over there. Yeah. It's not this very extrovert kind of, let's say, sorry for stereotyping, but US approach to storytelling. Here is my story and I'm ready to share it. Just other way around. And I guess this was pretty challenging. I worked back then with story circles. And first of all, I shared my story, and it was a story that made me vulnerable. And I guess this is also something that is really important across cultures. It doesn't really matter where we work with stories. And when people feel this authenticity and courage also to share something personal, they are more tuned to do something similar. it doesn't really, it shouldn't be the point that they open up immediately and they are really like, wow, you know, this is my story, and right now this is what is most important, but that they feel encouraged also to notice that their voice matter. So this is something that I personally see as very, very important. Yeah.
There are so many questions more that we could go for, and we're coming to the top of the hour. So we're going to leave you with curiosity as this book comes out to grab a copy. So Joanna, any final words from you for the people who've gathered here today?
Thank you for all the questions. How could one become a better storyteller is the last one. I guess the next step would be actually, you know, to have a look at these questions and really to start answering them. And I'm happy to do so on another occasion. Right now, I would like to still use the chance to spread my words of gratitude to two very important women. My daughter, Julia, and my mom, who supported me in working on this book a lot. And also two very important men, my son, Luca, who has got really a fantastic sense of humor, and it's really fantastic to talk to him when I want to get a different perspective. And my husband, who supported me on this journey, and sorry, not two, but three men. One more very important man, my mom's husband, who has got an editing house, and he gave me lots of very valuable hints how to, you know, go on this journey. And two more really fantastic women who made this dream come true, and they are here today. So a big, big thank you to Ellie Begley, who is the editor and is really the most patient woman I have ever met in my life. Thank you, Ellie, so much. And to Cindy Dopras, who illustrated the book in a really beautiful manner. So thank you so much for all of that. And last but not least, also, of course, all my One Word Stories guests who are here today, and also those who couldn't join because they work or travel. So thank you very, very much.
So right at the moment, just to let you know, both of the versions, both the paperback version and the Kindle version, are still behind the scenes. The white mice are running in the wheel, and pretty soon they're going to be up. And so our special request for you, what is the fuel for any book and the big request from any author is, would you please, if you can, give a review to this book, because that helps it to be seen by more people. So I know Joanna wouldn't, you know, forcibly ask you, but I'm going to ask you on her behalf, because having written something, I know that that's really, really important. If you could give a review, that would be beautiful. I've also put a link in the chat window to a free download, which is at onewordstories.net/book for you. And thank you so much for being here. As a going away checkout, would you please put in the chat window your wish and or your blessing for this work?
Thank you for joining, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you. And yes, wonderful that you work with us.
So if you'd open your mics and just say goodbye in that beautiful cacophony of every voice at the same time, why not? Just unmute yourself and say
Bye-bye.
however you'd like
Thank
to.
you, God. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Arrivederci.
Do widzenia. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Joanna.
Bye-bye.
See
war
you
unglaublich,
soon.
was sie
Bye,
da bringen, die Johanna. Das ist
Joanna.
sehr Frau. Leute von der ganzen
Aloha.
Welt
Thank
waren
you,
da.
thank you.
Wonderful.
Yoroshiku
Arigato.
onegaishimasu. Bye-bye. Jane, bye-bye.
Hello, aloha.
Thank you so much. Thank
Jay,
you. Oh,
bye.
Patricia, thank you. Thank you for joining.